All right, let's talk about your essay assignment. So if everybody will click on the PDF, and you can see the instructions. Throughout this course and in daily life, we are confronted with issues of gender and gender roles, mental health, and violence. And I think if you think about all the texts we've read, we can see many of these things playing out: gender roles, mental health, and violence. So I would like for the focus of the research project to address a current problem or issue within one of these broader topics. And then in the process of your writing, you will present the problem and then you will propose a solution or solutions to it. So in choosing a focus, you must first narrow the topic by brainstorming what you already know and what you'd like to know more about. So once you've picked a narrowed focus, you will then be able to more easily determine a thesis statement. And I have some guidance for this that we'll discuss in the next video and in the next link. And so we'll come back to that to show you how to get started narrowing your focus and developing your position. So the source requirements for this essay, you have to have 5 to 7 sources, not 4, not 8, 5 to 7. And you have to refer directly to each of these sources at least once somewhere in your paper. And I'm going to be looking for a minimum of 1 in-text citation for each of your required sources. One of your sources must be a scholarly article from a scholarly journal, and I will show you how to make sure that what you're finding meets that criteria. This source cannot be a book review or an editorial. It has to be a lengthy article with a clear description of the author as an expert in the field, and it has to include citations, references, or sources. And I will help you with this when we get to the point in the process. You may conduct interviews or a survey. However, no matter how many you conduct, it will only count as one of your required sources. So if you have 3 interviews, that only counts as one of the 5 sources, even though there may be 3 different people. Also, if you choose to conduct an interview, it has to be someone who is an expert. You can't just go talk to your neighbor unless your neighbor has some direct expertise in the topic that you are dealing with. You also will have to submit to me your questions that you will be asking your interviewee. And I have to approve those questions before the interview. You may use a film, documentary, a TV show, a YouTube video, some other form of multimedia to count as a source. Now, this is the organizational requirements. And the first draft that you will be completing for this essay will follow this template. And I will show you that, and we will discuss that in a video below. But basically, this is what I'm looking for: a statement of your problem, your issue, your thesis. Your thesis for this paper is going to be narrow, but it's also going to be something that sets up the presentation of a problem and a solution. So in other words, you might want to say something like, adult onset dementia is a significant problem in our country today. And then that way you are setting it up as a problem that needs to be solved. So you're listing your topic, okay, whatever topic you pick, and making the claim that it's a problem that needs to be solved or addressed in some kind of way. Then in your first paragraph, you'll give a brief history or a background of the problem. Now, you may not know this right now, and that's okay. This is where some research can come in. Paragraphs 2 and 3. So I want you to think about these 2 paragraphs divided up into 2 ways. So maybe paragraph 3 is who is affected by the problem, and paragraph 4, or so it's body paragraph 3, how bad is it? What's the extent of it? Body paragraphs 4 and 5 are going to deal with how are people affected. And you may have more than 2 body paragraphs. This is just a guideline. And then your last body paragraphs are going to be the solution to the problem. So in other words, what do you think should be done? How can we solve it? And again, some of these you're going to know because you live in this world. Other information you will have to do research to help flesh out your problem and your solutions. And then in the conclusion, you summarize your findings. So this is quite an extensive essay. And like I said, you may have more. It may take you more than 2 body paragraphs to deal with all of these issues right in here. It needs to be 5 to 6 pages long that follows MLA formatting guidelines. So that means 1-inch margins. That means a 12-point font. And your MLA Works Cited page at the end of the essay must be formatted correctly, and it does not count towards your page requirement. So that MLA Works Cited page will either be the 6th page or higher. Every time you quote directly or paraphrase from a source, you must use in-text citations, and we will discuss this later on in the process. You should submit your final copy through Blackboard, and again, this will be something we discuss later, how to submit and what other requirements I'm going to have for you. Right now, as we're operating online, you just submit things as I ask for them, and we will go from there after we're back together. And just some things to keep in mind. Your reader has not done any of the research you have or read any of your sources. So you've got to make it clear what those sources are doing there. So that means we've got to make sure we're integrating them correctly and fully. You have to clearly introduce your sources, and this is a typo, guys. Sorry, you have 5 to 7 sources, not 4. Okay, just so that you know. And help your reader understand why you find these sources reliable and useful. And we will get to that in that step of the process. You can use I and personal experience to help you develop your paragraphs, but remember not to use you in the body of the essay. And also, we're not going to plagiarize. We're just going to give credit to our sources. Once you give credit to your sources, you have checked off that box and move on. So I hope this gives you a good overview of what I'm expecting for you to do. So please email me if you have any questions. But now I want you to move on to this next link, and we will talk about that once you click off of this video and click on the next one.